thank you for joining us for another episode of the College of Design podcast. I'm Ted Grevstad-Nordbrock. I'm an associate professor of community and regional planning in the College of Design at Iowa State University, and I'm the host for today's episode. I'm joined today by Torgrim Guttormsen, who is an archaeologist and research professor at the Norwegian Institute for Cultural Heritage Research in Oslo. Torgrim, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me here.
I want to start with a little background, a little bit about your background. You're currently visiting Iowa State University, a Fulbright Scholar. You'll be here for 3 months, March through the end of May. And you're here to do research on cultural heritage management and politics and how that manifests itself in the world of heritage. Also, heritage planning, urban heritage, and the history of archaeology. You have a whole lot of stuff on your plate. While you're here, you've edited books recently, one called Heritage and Sustainable Urban Transformation, Deep Cities. You and I have talked about this on a number of occasions. And Heritage, Democracy, and the Public, Nordic Approaches. And I understand you're working on a lot of other research at this moment, too. We connected back in 2022, I believe it was, when I spent my Fulbright Research Scholarship half year in Oslo in your office, and we got to know one another pretty well back then. Can you talk a little bit about why you decided to come to Ames for your own Fulbright Scholarship?
Yeah, first of all, I would just say that the Fulbright program, I really think is a really good program. It's a fantastic program for cultural exchange. And when you contacted me in Oslo and came on a Fulbright program, it started kind of rings in the water. I think that's one of the also the reasons why I'm here. So, but just to start with that, you came to Oslo and you participated in my research project, Deep Cities, and came to Barcelona and participated in a workshop, delivered papers and blogs and everything. So, and all the things you talked about Ames State, I was really impressed, and kind of encouraged me also to try to visit you here and your colleagues. And so I think that's kind of the starting of everything, and it inspired me to apply for a Fulbright myself. And I got it, and then came over here, which is really fantastic.
Yeah. So this is your first time physically in Ames. You've been to the United States before. I recall you saying that you spent time in New York and in California, but first time to the upper Midwest, if I'm not mistaken, and first time to Ames. What are your first impressions of Ames and Iowa State University, the people, the place? How does it fit into your research?
Well, first of all, I think many of the things that you work with and your colleagues is something that I work with too in Oslo when it comes to planning and heritage and preservation. So I was, I'm still looking forward also here when I'm here to see more of the research done here by you and your colleagues. And as I already started to share some of my research here with the students and anyone and your colleagues, so try to get to know what kind of fields of heritage research you are interested in, because there are differences between Europe and U.S. So it's for me it's very exotic to be here and see how you deal with heritage and just to see how the urban cities and heritage in the cities here are different than Norway and in Europe in general. It's quite exciting to see this difference across Atlantic. And also that I'm in the heart of the Nordic Scandinavian belt. So since that's the topic that I'm interested in to dig into in my research, I'm in the heart of that kind of area. So, and Ames is perfect kind of place to start to do my research from based on that.
It's a good jumping off point.
Yeah.
I understand you're heading up to Minnesota, North Dakota, Wisconsin, kind of the heart of Scandinavia, America. Can you tell us a little bit more about your Fulbright project? It relates to this region. It relates to heritage in Scandinavian American heritage, specifically in the upper Midwest.
Yeah, I can start with a little story actually, because in 2016 I was on my way to Amherst for a conference on urban parks, and then I had a weekend in Boston. So I was thinking to explore the city a little bit, and I went to the Commonwealth Avenue and the Greenway, and I saw at one end of that park, it was a Leif Erikson statue saying he was the first to discover America in 1000 AD, both in Norse writings and in English. And he was standing in a Viking ship boat, and I was thinking, as a Norwegian, I was very curious about this is about. And on the other end of the park, you have a statue of Columbus, who also claims to be the first to discover America. So I was thinking something's going on in Boston. And I went to the public library, and the librarian there was also kind of interesting to figure out what this is about. So we scrolled back newspapers to the late 1800s and figure out that these people behind it, among them was Ole Bull, the famous Norwegian violinist. So these kind of cultural ambassadors across U.S. and Norway already started then to promote Leif Erikson as a symbol of the Lutheran kind of culture. This was kind of a political battle between Italian and Irish Catholics on one side who wanted Columbus, and Lutheran on the other side who wanted Leif Erikson. So it was a political battle of Boston, who's going to be in charge, based on showing off the monuments. So that's when I started, and I was thinking, I have to dig into this and figure out this kind of political context that goes all the way up to today with the celebration of Leif Erikson Day, with presidential addresses in 1964. And the last address was from Biden. So I also studied his political statements based on Leif Erikson all the way up to today, because he's very, they used his story in political rhetorics about their politics, present politics. So, and then I discovered that there's a lot of Leif Erikson statues around, and in Midwest, from, Chicago, Milwaukee, and all the way to other places. So that's when I started. I have to do so-called monument biographical studies of these monuments to see how are they different and how do they connect in somehow.
Very interesting. So from Boston to Chicago to Milwaukee, Duluth, and St. Paul, I believe that's what you said your Leif Erikson route will be, right?
Yeah. So what I already done, I came here in beginning of March with my family, my wife and my youngest daughter. So we had a kind of road trip in March, and where we visited these places. In Duluth, there's a Leif Erikson statue, and in Minot, and also in St. Paul. So the next trip we tried to see the statue in Milwaukee, and I already seen it in Chicago. So I already know I have a lot of data to write about this, and putting this together is really interesting.
Crossings 200. That's the 200th anniversary of Norwegian American immigration to the U.S. So we've been talking a lot about Leif Erikson recently.
Yes. So Crossings 200 is celebrating that for 200 years ago was the first organized immigration from Norway to America, to U.S. So there was this boat, this sloper called Restoration, with overcrowded people traveling 3 months overseas, coming to New York. And the captain was actually imprisoned because it was a miracle that he survived. But he was released, and it became a heroic story about the first Norwegian emigrating to U.S. And since then, it has been celebrated. And this year is 200 years since that. So all over U.S. and Norway, they sailed from Stavanger. Stavanger has a huge kind of celebration about this too, and all Norway actually. So it connects. It's timely to be here studying Leif Erikson based on this background. So I'm eager to study how is this kind of commemorated. So this is also data for me to kind of analyze what's happening this year.
Very cool. In the past, we've talked about kind of the reverse of what you're describing, immigration to Norway. And I know you've done some research on how new immigrant groups to Norway are commemorating themselves. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah, so first of all, what I think is interesting with this monument tradition about Leif Erikson is that this is a monument tradition invented in U.S. with the first one in Boston in late 1800. And then it had become a lot of other monuments around U.S., among others, one in Seattle on the west coast. And a copy of that statue is given to Norway, to Trondheim. So this is a heritage that goes reverse from U.S. to Norway. Normally, often researchers study the immigration from Norway to U.S., but this is interesting to see how this connects backwards again to Norway. So what I have done, since I'm studying monuments, what I have done elsewhere is I have been studying, for instance, Vietnamese boat people, as they've been called in Norway, that flew from Vietnam in 1975. So in 2005, they got a monument at the Norwegian Maritime Museum in Oslo. So I study how was that achieved by the public and the authorities in Norway as a contrast to how Norwegian was kind of celebrating their kind of heritage in the U.S. And it has been really interesting to see, it's kind of mirroring, because Norwegians are really proud of the heritage in the U.S., but there's been conflicts by when new immigrants want to put up their monuments in Norway. So I think it's really interesting to see that and put it up as a mirror in the self-reflections of kind of Norwegian identity.
Fascinating stuff. We were fortunate in one of the classes in the College of Design to have you as a guest lecturer recently. And you talked about your involvement in the rebuilding of the government quarter in Oslo after the July 22nd, 2011 terrorist attack. Can you explain your role in that process, in that project, and talk maybe a little bit about the kind of the diversity of actors involved in the restoration, in the recreation of the government quarter, architects, other designers, planners, heritage people?
Yeah, so since I've been working with what is called dark heritage or difficult heritage, and often also called painful heritage. So this is the heritage that is in many aspects unwanted, but have been debated a lot, contentious stuff. So I was asked to participate in this project because Norwegian Institute for Cultural Heritage Research, NIKU, where I work, won together with Nordic architects the competition to develop the government quarter and also after the bomb attack, 22nd of July 2011, by these right-wing terrorists. So we got the task to what kind of elements should be part of rebuilding this area, since it was bombed and some of the buildings have to be taken down, and other buildings will be standing and new buildings will come too. So one group in NIKU was concentrating on the heritage of this area, that's functionalist buildings from the 1950s, with also Picasso art on the sides of these buildings. While I had the task to document the memory traces of the bomb. And since I work with contemporary archaeology, this is a common thing. You have all the traces from the bomb, like splintering woods and glass, and all these fragments. So we wonder what kind of types of these fragments should be taken care of that tells the story of this terrorist attack that could be used in the local 22nd of July Center and other kind of educational programs. So I went around documenting, photographing, interviewing people that experienced the bombing, and I also did my kind of typological kind of distinctions between these traces, and made a report about it. So now it's starting to become a lot of research around it. So we just came out with a book, actually, participating with a chapter there about 22nd of July, how to deal with this tragic event as a memory culture. So it's still going on, and they are building up the new government quarter with the 22nd of July Center, which will be a visiting center like at Grand Zero and other places have the same. It will be memorials around, there's a competition now, I think it's 8th of April, it will land who's won the competition for the memorial that will stand in the square in front of the government quarter. So the tricky thing here that have been an issue, and it's fantastic for me as a heritage researcher to work with architects in this way. It has been such a very positive energy. Everyone is really open and cooperative. Any idea is good idea. So, and as a researcher, usually work with critical. We are really critical normally, but here it was very positive energy to take the best ideas on the table and find the right solution for people and this place in the future. And the difficult task here was how to make an urban environment where you commemorate this for the victims that it was 77 people that was killed, and there's a national trauma. So how do you make a memorial landscape in this area? That was one thing. The other, how to make this as a safe place, because this was the heart of the political center, and it's still going to be. The terrorists wanted to take out the prime minister and the Labour Party that was ruling back then. So how to make this as a safe place for politicians and bureaucrats that's going to go every day at work without thinking about this, as many of them experience. And the third thing, that it should be a public walkthrough and a place where you can, feel safe too. So these three considerations have been the tricky, but also very fruitful, based on our discussions about how to shape this place in the future.
Let's switch gears a bit. You've been in Ames for about a month. As you mentioned, you're here with your wife and your daughter. What have you done since you've been in Ames? What has been different, exciting, intriguing, outside of the realm of the College of Design?
Well, we have been around, just to be on Walmart, it's kind of a different experience for us. It's impressive that you have so many, options. I'm not saying that Norway don't have so many options, but how many options is more that there is a different experience. And it reminds me a little about Andy Warhol, that kind of art when I'm going there. It gives me that kind of impression. So that was kind of interesting. I took a lot of pictures just because the colors, the lines, and the products, it gives kind of arty kind of experience for me. Other things is that, my wife is a vegan, so we try to find vegan restaurants and to see that kind of, the food is a little bit different from Norway and Europe. We were discussing in the car the other day that when you see this cornfield, it's kind of a monotone landscape based on one kind of product. What about where's the vegetables, tomatoes, and everything locally? So we trying to figure out more this kind of nuances. But I think one of the differences for us is kind of two things: is the weather. It's a lot of wind. We are not used to, and we have been here with blisters and everything, driving to storm, and it comes suddenly, and the next day it's warm, like, a really summer day. So that's one thing, and the other is the distances. We try to walk as much as possible because that's what we do in Norway, but we realize this, US is pretty much made for cars, but we still walk because we think it's interesting to experience Ames by walking around and see the surroundings based on that.
And your daughter is enjoying school?
Yeah, she started in middle school here in Ames, and she really loves it. And she got so many friends, and she's looking forward to go to school every day.
So, Torgrim, when we were talking before, you had mentioned that in many ways Ames is the quintessential American experience. Can you describe that a bit more?
Yeah, because one of the things that when you're born in Norway and raised in Norway, you have seen all kind of American movies. I think we've pretty much been raised by looking at American movies. It's at least in Scandinavia. So when you come to U.S., for instance, you come to New York and you see the fog coming up from the roads. You've seen that in so many movies. You kind of see an action movie at just about going through the corners. And the same here in Ames, where we are living. You have these houses, and it looks like a movie where you're just waiting for the boy bicycling and throwing the newspaper on the front there. So it's kind of living like a movie. The experience that we have. We see it everywhere, all kind of movies. Even when you drive in the Midwest on the prairie, all these movies comes into mind from, that's kind of interesting for us that we have so strong preferences based on that.
So Torgrim, it's been a real pleasure talking to you today. I look forward to working with you over the next couple months, as do my colleagues in the College of Design, and hopefully we'll have a much longer and more fruitful relationship with you and NIKU. Do you have any final thoughts to share with us?
I'm really glad to be part of this interview too, and to meet all the colleagues here, and I will, do even more effort to meet people and talk to people, because I think that's a really valuable thing. Talk to people, hear their experience, and just by talking to the students and how they look at the future, and also how they look at the situations today. It's really interesting to hear their background and their experience. So my kind of goal is to meet people and also meet all these organizations. Like we're going to Vesterheim later, and we've been to Hjemkomst Center, and also meet those who have been eager to develop that kind of culture in this area. So, and last thing, I'm looking really forward to the spring coming.
So, Torgrim, we got through an interview without me mentioning lutefisk. So, Norwegian America will be very happy about that. Thank you once again for joining us. Thank you, viewers, for tuning into another episode of the College of Design podcast. We hope you enjoyed the conversation, and we will see you next episode.